Hi everyone, this is Anna from Koala Soap, and I got a new mold. I'm sure a lot of you guys have seen this one. It's roses on a bar, and to me it looked kind of cool, so I kind of wanted to test it out. So basically what I'm going to do is I always save my old soap, like anything that's left over, and then I'm going to go ahead and melt this down, and I'm actually going to measure how much soap this takes, and then I'm actually going to write on the back of this mold. Okay, so let's go ahead and melt this down. Okay, so we're back. We have this melted down. I'm going to turn on my scale. And I used to use water when doing this. I'm going to zero it out. But I noticed that the melt and pour is usually a couple more ounces. So I kind of wanted to do it this way. So I melted everything down. I'm going to go ahead and pour it. Okay, so this mold takes about 3.4 ounces, so about 3.5 ounces of soap. Okay, so now that we have it measured out, we're going to go ahead and try out our mold. So I have 3.5 ounces of shea butter here. We'll go ahead and melt that down. I did do an earlier test of the mold, and this is how it looks, and it's really pretty. And then I thought, well, what if I tried to do the leaves and the flowers? It was really hard to do because it's really hard to differentiate what's a leaf, what's a flower. So I would use this as my template, and then I would pour soap into the areas that I thought were the flowers. So if you can tell, it's still kind of overdid it here. Now you can paint this with some mica and alcohol. The thing is, I'm just not a fan of it all washing off so quickly. So I'm going to try something a little different. There's a couple things I want to do. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to melt this down, and I'm going to just put a little bit, just swirl it around into the mold here. And then we will just add different depths. Okay, so now that we have it melted down, at this point, but I'm doing a test project, but at this point, if you want to add fragrance, I wait for it to be under 140. I always wait till the 135, 140-ish before I add the fragrance in. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to not color this yet. I'm going to just pour a little bit of this shea butter into the mold. Just a little bit. I don't know if you guys can see what I'm doing here. And then I'm going to just kind of rustle it around there. Probably use just a bit more. Don't be afraid to pour it in there. If you pour too much, not a big deal. You can pour it out. So what I'm trying to do is kind of get into some of the nooks and crannies there. And then I will pour whatever's left back into our measuring cup. Okay, now at this point, and you can see this, you can actually just wipe this off, which is what I'll do, or you can wait for it to dry and just peel it off and put it right back in there. The choice is yours. Okay, so right now we are at 150 here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set this aside. I will squirt it with some alcohol. We'll just like let it set aside right now. I'm not going to do anything with this, but I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to mix this with distilled water. I'm just going to see if we can get a little bit of design going inside of it. I think this will be enough, like the white part, but you know me, I like to just keep going with my experiments. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to put a little bit of Stardust Pink Watermelon into some distilled water. Now because we're using such a small amount of soap, we're going to have to make this pretty concentrated here, because we're going to squirt it in with our pipette. And remember, we don't squirt the whole thing in because we're not going to pull it all up on our pipette. And it usually does take a little bit longer for it to set because this is distilled water. You can mix micas with oil, especially if you're doing a cold process soap, alcohol, or distilled water. I use distilled water in this type of a design because it won't disperse so easily if I put alcohol in here. As soon as I put alcohol in there and then put it in here, it's just going to go all pink. And what I want is maybe just a little bit of a tiny swirl. So this is mixed up. We are going to go ahead and wait for this to cool down just a little bit more, because I don't really want to melt that much into here. And plus this disperses a lot less, even though it's water. It disperses a lot less as soon as I shoot it into here. So we're going to wait for this to cool down and then we'll be back. Okay, so this is now 124 Fahrenheit and it does feel thicker. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give this another mix because it's been sitting for just a little bit. And then I'm going to be ready to go. I'm going to squirt this with a generous amount of alcohol. We'll put it right here. I have my coil ready. Someone had asked why I don't just pour this into the soap. And the reason I use this is because I want to squirt it. I want to get it down there. I don't want it to just, because I'm not sure it'll go all the way through because it's thickened. Remember, it's cooler now. So we're not going to use it all. We already know that. I'm going to pull up as much as I can. It looks like about 2.5 milliliters. I'm going to squirt hard. There we go. And use our little coil once and out. We've already squirted with alcohol. We're going to pour. And perfect. Almost no soap wasted. This is really good. Now I have air bubbles here. I'm not sure if you can see that, but I do. I am going to go ahead and squirt that with alcohol. This will disperse, but only on the top layer, so that's okay. Okay, so now we're just going to wait for this to set, and we will go ahead and unmold. Okay, and now we're back for the unmolding. So we're going to go ahead. Because we have all those little nooks and crannies, you have to kind of make sure it's fully loose before you get it out. Nice. Much, much better. I don't know if you can see that. Much better. I like that. Now, this to me seems small. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is I made a regular one out of our regular pink mold because I kind of wanted to compare and contrast. So it's a little shorter. Okay, but the height is the same. So let's go ahead and weigh them and see what they're at. So the regular bar is 3.9 ounces. This bar should be 3.5, but you never know. So 3.5 ounces. So there is about a 4 ounces difference, but it is really, really pretty. Excuse the green mic, I was trying to do this here. So there you go. It's a really pretty mold. Lots of nice detail on it. It's also very important that if you do use this mold, that once you pour, you shake. Okay, not when you have the white in, you can do it, but it's going to set pretty fast. But when you pour the color on top of it, make sure you shake because there's a lot of little open nooks and crannies there, and you want to make sure you don't get any air bubbles. Because if you do, then what you'll see is you'll end up seeing like little holes here and there. But I think that's pretty, and the little swirling part of it came out really pretty. So yeah, I'm really happy with this. I think it's a nice compare contrast to this one. I mean, this is fine. And I thought it was a little bit easier to do than this. So I would go ahead, and if you like the mold, I'll leave links to it all down below. And you guys have a really great weekend.